Good morning, y'all. It is August 19th, 8:47, and we are coming to you live from the campsite here. Still testing the Yoleny 3-meter bell tent. You guys can see my setup here. And it does get cold here in the mountains, so I do have my wood stove in currently. Last night was pretty good, 50s. Didn't need the stove. Slept with the doors open, which was pretty nice. Matt is still testing the Aries, my nature hike. He has the Winterwell Nomad size large there right now, and you can see how his setup is. Walk over there real quick. This is basically the Aries small. You guys can see. Winterwell setup. This one does have a cap. This is still nylon. You can use these doors here, the snow flaps here, for winter as an awning in summer. You can do that on both sides. This is his setup. You got air mattress and there's Winterwell in there. Fans and stuff. We are here at where we test them here at the club campground here. We have like a primitive campground. No power poles, no water. Basically the way it is. There's my camper for when guests come over and they don't like, tents. We were testing this one here. This is the Eureka. This is made by Bass Pro Shops, and it's absolutely terrible. Leaks from both sides. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that tent ever. I mean, it's cool looking. Has 3 rooms. It basically reminds me of a Walmart tent, except it has skylights. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend that one at all. This one here is the one I'm currently testing. This is the Yoleny. It is, like I said, a 3-meter bell tent, basically 10 feet round. It has a center pole and a pole that goes over the door. It has 4 windows that are down here like most bell tents have. And 9 guy lines that go pretty much all the way around. So if you don't have like a testing facility or you're not at an established campground, you guys got to watch out for these because they're pretty long. And you guys can see I have like solar lights running up all the guy lines all the way around, and I don't have that there to make it look pretty. I have them there so I can monitor the tension on the wires here. Make sure everything is good. I also have a little camera set up on a post there, or monitoring this 24/7. The solar light basically allows me to see on the camera how everything is working out here, making sure nothing rips out. We can give you the most accurate review we can. Now, I do have a few modifications here. Yoleny has these screen vents here, but there's nothing to keep the vent open here. This isn't rigid. So what I did is put a stick and propped up underneath the rigid edge of this and put it on a piece of bark, hauled it out. So it holds them open so I can actually get some airflow through this tent, because otherwise the vents lay flat. They didn't put a kickstand in it. So like normally, I'll take you over here to the Aries. Normally on a hot tent, when they put vents in on the roof, they add a little kickstand here. Then you can pull the kickstand down, this pulls down. So you can control the airflow and it keeps this open. But on this tent, they didn't do that. For some reason they felt that the brainiacs over at Yoleny didn't feel like a kickstand was appropriate to hold the vents open. So the vents, they have a little rigid piece at the end, but no kickstand. So I remedied that, like I said, with a piece of bark, a stick. You make a little notch there, and you just prop it up. And it won't rip through your tent, and you still get the airflow. Now the Yoleny does have this cool feature here. It has a screen skylight that's accessible from the outside here. It has Velcro. You can undo the Velcro here and roll this up. You can roll it up. There is some loops here. They're abnormally large, so it doesn't really hold this up too much. But there is a little screen here you guys can see inside my tent, which is pretty nice. On a good night, and there's no rain in the forecast, you can open this up. Right. Another thing that I really like with the Yoleny is the buckles that they use, the metal buckles on the guy lines are red, so they stand out from the ground, so you don't trip on them. Well, I mean, you can still trip on them, but a little less likely to trip on if you can see it visually. Now the ropes do glow with a headlamp if you have one on, but that does work real well. So I would suggest, if you guys are buying a bell tent, to avoid the 9, 10, 15, it depends on how big the tent is here. Avoid tripping on them at night. Just buy these little solar blocks here. You guys can get these. I got these at Aldi's, but you can get them at the Dollar Tree for a couple bucks. You set this out in your sun and it charges. I just prop them underneath the guy lines here, or stake them in. Then it sends a light beam right up the thing, and then you guys don't trip on them because you can see them all the time. Don't matter if you have a headlamp or not. I always set something. I have my little table here that I set over the front of the tent here, over that guy line. You guys can see the Yoleny does come with this rubber cap. This is basically when you put the center pole in, there's a little grommet here that the pole goes through. If you don't have the cap on and it rains, rain will run down this and it'll leak into your tent. So they give you this real rubber cap. It's like a little nipple here. You just stick that back on top there. And it deflects the rain down to the tent material. Now the Yoleny is stitched very well. I mean, there is a double stitch. All the stress points are nice and stitched, nice. And you guys can see, this is not cotton canvas. It's not TC canvas. This is actually denier. Denier is a little lighter, a little more airy. It doesn't breathe as well, but it is pretty much waterproof. So you don't need to season this one like you do a standard bell tent or a standard hot tent. It's made out of canvas. There's no fibers in denier to expand, so you don't need to worry about that. This is pre-coated at the factory. But like I said, denier is a little bit lighter. It's easier to pack up. You guys can see all the hoverflies. They seem to like it because denier does gather moisture, and hoverflies are attracted to that. So you guys call them sweat bees. They're just basically flies. But on this side here, you can see how the vent is without a prop. You know, it does let a little air in, but not like that when you prop it open. But yeah, so far so good. There's another little hack. I put a little carabiner here on the guy line. And I put this little solar light here. Cost me $1 at the Dollar Tree. Give you a little light over your doorway. Now, this is the 3 meter. Like I said before, I am using, open this up here, show you the screen. The screen is pretty nice, very dense. The zippers are SBS. They're not YKK, but SBS is pretty good. They're pretty good zippers. They open up and close, no sweat. You know, no snags. There are these big doors here that you can close, and there's a single zipper that goes down on the doors, but none across the bottom because this is a hot tent. Now this is my setup basically. I use a disco bed. If you guys seen these are like $400. You can stack these. But I use one of them. I use a Ninja for my food and my lunch meat, and I use a Lifetime cooler for adult beverages. Now I do use the green stove. That's what I use to heat this tent. That's what I've been using for right now. And I haven't used this in the winter time yet because it's only summer here. So that's why I'm not making an official gear review for this tent yet, because I didn't test it out in all 4 seasons. But what I can tell you is with some fans, I put a box fan over there and I attach it to my solar generator. And I sit next to the window over there and blow air on me all night long. It's pretty nice in summertime. Right now it's in the mid-60s and sleeping's pretty good. So it hasn't been really wet warm. This tent doesn't show a lot of condensation because of those vents in the top. As you see, I have a couple fans hanging up in there. I have a lot of solar generator stuff. I have a Renogy 100-watt panel that I use to power all this stuff during the day while I'm in here. And all my fans are solar. I have a solar television. Actually has a solar panel. And that's what I use basically during the day. But this tent is very, very, very warm if it's not set up in the shade. So I would highly recommend getting a reflective tarp. They're like 40, 50 bucks on Amazon. And stretching it up over this, or draping it over this if you're going to use this out in the middle of a field somewhere at like a festival, and plan on being in it during the day because it does get very warm. You guys can see all the guidelines. It's about how much space. You need about 4 or 5 feet of space around the entire tent. If you're using a bell tent, sometimes more, depending on what size it is. So you got to keep that in mind too when you're buying a bell tent. Now, you do need all the guidelines. They all have to be stretched and staked. Otherwise, you're not going to get the shape of the tent. Most bell tents, even this one, the Yoleny, has like this little drip edge. You guys can see it's like a little 5-inch roof. Hangs over here. That allows you to leave your windows open, basically. And it doesn't matter if it rains then, because it doesn't really bother it. So you can leave them open, which is pretty nice. I still close the front one. I mean, there is an overhang, but not much of one. You guys can see it is double stitched denier. All the sides are reinforced real well. You guys can see that. It's coming out on the camera. And this one does have a stove jack. A lot of bell tents don't. This one has a stove jack. You had to cut it yourself. Now, usually when you cut these for your stovepipe, it frays. So I bought a boot. They're like 20 bucks, silicone boot. You just slice it. And then it seals off all the water from running down in, and snow melt. As snow's melting off here in wintertime, it stops it from dripping through the hole and sizzling on your stove. I mean, that's not really a big deal, but also seals the bugs out when it's, not winter season like now, and I have my stove installed and I don't want anything crawling down through there. You don't want a whole tent full of mosquitoes, but basically you can slice this. You can make it look nicer too. You can even trim this all out if this bothers you. And I just sliced it, put the boot in, installs with some bolts, and then you're good to go. You can switch out pipes, whatever size you want. Like I said, this is the Defender stove. It comes with these interchangeable pipes here. They get bigger as they go up in diameter. And these are stainless steel, and it comes with 8 feet of pipe if you get the green stove Defender. And there is a flat pier when you're not using your stovepipe. You can like untoggle it here and it's Velcro all the way around. So we have that. You guys can see the shape of this thing. Now coming back here to the vents again. This, when you unpack this is how these vents are at the top. You can see there is a big piece of plastic here, rigid piece of plastic, but there's no kickstand. So this is basically how it stays. And you can push this up all you want. It just flattens back out. So that's the reason that I made the little kickstands. But other than that, the tent is pretty nice so far. It's not very straight stitched. Like you can see the bubbles in the screen and stuff. Whoever sewed this together at the factory didn't line up the bottom with the top when they were stitching it together because it's all crooked. And I do have to prop it back up behind the wood stove, because with it being crooked, it pulls all the fabric closer to the stove, and that's a scorch point. I don't want to start a fire in the tent that I'm sleeping in. So basically what I did to remedy that is I have a little metal plate and I stuck it behind the stove up against the legs, and it pushes this out, and I piled my wood up along the edge of this, so my wood stays dry and it keeps that stuff keeps the fabric away from the tent. But I've lit the stove up a couple days ago and it dropped down into the 50s. Cut the chill out of the air in the morning, and it worked out pretty well. I didn't scorch anything like some of the people said. I guess people don't use their brains when they're about to light a wood stove. I don't know, but you gotta definitely think outside the box a little bit when you do hot tent. You got to think about this stuff ahead of time. Now I'll show you what the inside of this looks like now. I am 6'1", and I can stand inside this. I have to crawl through the door basically because, I'm not very big. Not very small here. Rather, you guys can see I have a chair in here. Sit over here in the disco bed. There is my green stove, Defender stove. It's a pretty unusual stove. You guys get a chance to check out my reviews, definitely recommend this stove. This stove is 340 stainless steel, completely made of stainless steel. Has 2 grab handles to carry. This does not fold down at all. Very, very beast of a stove. I mean, this thing gets crazy hot. And yeah, those little louvers on there actually pull air from the bottom 3 up into the burn chamber, and then this burn chamber has a plate that goes back. It actually reburns the gases, and these 3 in the back push hot air out. My soda can sit on the back of there. Unfortunately, I smoke and I needed an ashtray, but I do recommend getting a fire mat. I have a thing with the Solo Walder fire mat for under your stove. You can get these in any size, but I like that they have like the neon colors so you can see it in the dark. Now you can get a standard one like this one. It's black, but see, there's no little illumination spots on the edges, so throw that one over there. And I've been using this because it looks a little nicer. You can see it in the dark. Like I said, I use the Monster Vision TV hooked up to a solar panel outside. I do use the Ninja Frost drawer thing here for my food, and then I use this Lifetime one, but I have little things, little touches. Add some pads, gym mat pad to the ground, make it a little softer if you're camping on rocks like I am currently. Throw a rug on here to cut the chill down. This does have one center pole, goes up to the top like that, and it came with this little handy thing here you can move back and forth. You can hang a lantern on it. I have a fan on it, sucking in air through the vents. But this is my setup here. You guys can see, and there's the skylight from the inside. But I'm 6'1". I can stand completely up in the middle of this, so making it easier for changing and such. If you're not accustomed to a bell tent, but this is the 3 meter, as I said. It's big enough for like I have a disco bed large. Now, I'm guessing, I mean, you could probably put 2 of them in here. You just can't stack them on top of each other. Otherwise, it's going to be like right here in the middle. I mean, I guess you could, technically, but it's going to be kind of hard to get into the top bunk. But this is my setup right now. You guys can see the screens are nice. Here's that center pole that goes up through the hole. And it just ties on each side, and there's a little pocket at the bottom that these poles are supposed to fit into, but that doesn't work either. But it is what it is. It's not a bad tent for $151 right now on Walmart.com. Like I said, this is just a quick review because we can't really review it for wintertime without having some snow, and it's a little warm right now for some snow. So get back to you in February when we got some snow and I can see what this does under snow load, and then I can give you a bit of an idea of what this is going to be able to do, what it can handle. You guys can see the material is pretty nice. Like I said, it is denier. If I can zoom in, I don't know if you can like see it. There you go, a little bit. But denier isn't canvas, so you don't have to season it. You guys can see how this works here. And there's a zipper. It goes down the middle. And there's a tab down here. You can actually stake one side to the ground if you just want to use one door. A lot of people do that. There's no zipper on the bottom. This is just going to move around here, and that could be remedied if you're really worried about air moving around through this. You could just put some Velcro on here, double-sided Velcro. Stick it fast to the tent, but I ain't really worried about it. There's also these little loops here on the side. We're not really sure what these loops are for. They might be for a lantern for all I know, but I think that would be a little close to the side of the tent, but we're not really 100% sure. I thought they were for the doors, but there's no toggle on the underside of this. It's just one single toggle for for the door. And that's it. So you guys know, hit me up in the comment section and tell me what these are for, because I've been hot tenting for a long time. Never had a bell tent. This is my first bell tent, and I have no idea what these are for. But all in all, getting back to this, it's a pretty good tent. Camped in it now for 20 days straight, and I don't have anything really bad to say about, other than the stitching on that back side of the wall is a little off. You guys can see what it looks like with the flaps down. One flap down. It's a pretty nice tent. Haven't noticed any staining or color fading or anything crazy. But it's pretty nice. It goes up in about 5 minutes. And I didn't look at the directions or anything. I mean, name me one guy that looks at directions and prior to it, and then I'll let you go about it. But most of you guys know, we just take it out of the thing. We're like little kids in the candy store, and we just got to open it up. But I've been testing this now, like I said, for 2 weeks. I had it testing it over there in the field, and then I brought it over here to the graduation spot here at the campground here. After I test the tent and I know it can work out really good, I bring it over to here, and I use it over here for a couple weeks, and then I'll use it for a couple weeks in this winter time, and then I'll arrive at my review rating. So once it makes it over here, this is like where all our friends hang out. I sit here and have a fire and shoot the shit. And if it passes, then it goes back in the bag for a little bit, and it ends up as a guest tent here for one of our friends. But like the Aries did here, that one passed pretty well. And that's still nylon. I don't really go for the still nylon ones, but that tent's pretty good too. Like I said, we'll get back to you in the wintertime, man. We'll come back to you with like a review when there's a foot of snow on here and we're pushing the limits of this bad boy, and give you a temperature reading and some wind readings. So far we haven't had a whole lot of wind out here, so I can't really test it against wind, so I can't back up any of the stuff that they say. They say that it holds up to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I couldn't tell you, so I'm not going to add that to the review yet until we figure it all out for you guys. But so far, if you're looking for a half-decent four-season tent for $151, this is a good way to go. I mean, there's plenty roomy. And we'll just continue to monitor it with our cameras here. You know, we have a camera on every corner here, and we watch this even when we're not inside it to make sure everything is functioning the way it's supposed to. So hit me up in the comments if you got any questions. You guys want to come check out the campground, or you want to come visit, set up a tent, camp out for a while, hit us up. Peace.